Hi jazz guitar enthusiasts around the world, Sandra Sherman here, greetings from Austria. Today I'll show you my beginner-friendly system to solo over any jazz standard. You can download the lesson material from the link down below in the description box, and now let's get started right away. In jazz soloing, outlining the chord tones, therefore targeting chord tones, is key to success. Now, you could learn a ton of arpeggios, and in the long run, I totally encourage you to do that. Arpeggios are the chord tones in consecutive order. Okay, but it's a long process, and there's a simpler way to do that. You probably already know a lot of chords. So why not use what you already know? And let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say you want to solo over the chord progression of Autumn Leaves in E minor. We have all chord types in this progression, so it's a great practice tune. And here's the key to success. Know all your chords in one position. So let's stay in this position between the 5th and 8th fret, somewhere plus minus 1 or 2 frets, okay? Middle area. All right? The first chord in the progression was A minor 7. Now find any A minor or better A minor 7 chord that you know. It's not that we would use that for comping. You would use maybe other voicings for comping. Right now it doesn't matter. We just use it to target chord tones. So you may know this cowboy chord A minor, or maybe this A minor 7, or this A minor 7, or this jazz chord A minor 7, or just the upper voicing. Okay, there's so many possibilities here. Let's just take a chord that you probably all know. That's this A minor 7. Also, it goes over all 6 strings, which is not a disadvantage because now you already have 6 tones to solo over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That means you can land on this tone, you can land on this tone, you can land and play around your phrases on this, on this, on this, and on this tone. If you know more chords, even better, because like if you know this chord too, then you already add another tone to your repertoire, because on that same string we had the 8th fret. Now if you know this too, you have the 5th fret here too. Now what you want to do is you just play with the chord tones. If you don't know any scale, just use the chord tones. We can add the rest by ear. I'm going to teach you how to do that. But let's just play using these tones, okay? Like you have to have a good phrasing therefore if you use less tones. All right, that's pretty simple, I know. But you don't play notes that are not important for the chord, or maybe even avoid notes. So you just play what's correct already. That's a good thing. I know a lot of beginners who know tons of scales and they never ever hit the right note in the right place. That's the most important thing in jazz. Hit the right notes at the right time, right? So now what you can do by ear, you can add notes around those chord tones. And since scales are usually built of a semitone, whole tone, and just rarely do they have 3 tones, you will always have a semitone or a whole tone left or right to a chord tone. So if this is a chord tone, that's the root actually, then you must have something, a half tone below or a whole tone below. You can check it out. Does that sound good? Doesn't belong to a scale. Well, it could belong to a certain scale, melodic minor, harmonic minor, but just use your ears. I think this one sounds better. Yeah, that's the 7th. I mean, I know that, but even if you don't, you can play around with that by ear. Let's go up 1 or 2 semitones. Let's try this one. Always play the chord in between so you hear it, or you just use a playback. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Let's try the next one. Yeah, that's better. So now you already have more tones, plus the next chord tone and the next chord tone. And try to play around with it. Maybe you know the pentatonics, then you can use that tones to fill up your chords. All right, let's check out the next chord. All right, next in the progression we have a D7, so let's check us a chord here in this area. Not here, not up here, in this area, because there's a thing called voice leading, which we're going to check out too. So I search for a D7. Here's a D and here's a D7. 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. Here's another D7. 7, 7, 7, 8. Actually, that's the next position already, but we can use it here too. If you don't know these chords, check out my my chord sheet below the video to download, and there is 5 chord types for each position. So this chord sheet has at least 20 chords, 5 per position. So you know every chord in every position. You can play everything then, okay? All right, so D7, and let's just play around with this tone. These are the 5 tones we have here. Just do phrasing by sliding into the tones. Could land here if I knew this chord too. Right, here's another one, so then I know another chord tone. You can play around with it. Now also add the embellishments, like, no, that doesn't fit, so this one's good. Chord tones. And I just played around by ear. Right? Now, what did I mean with with voice leading? Coming from the A minor, this was our chord there, or one of the chords. Let's say you ended on G. That was your last tone. Now, the next tone for the D7, the nearest, the closest tone, would be the F sharp. Try to, that's the second step, changing from one chord to the other with as little movement as possible. The best would be 1 or 2 semitones. That's not always possible, but if you like have that G as the last note, you could have the F sharp as the first note, going from A minor to D7. The next chord in our progression is the G major 7, and we have one here. Here's the G. Always search for the root first. Then we have the 7, 7, 7th fret. All right, so you have 4 tones already to play around with. Now, this is a little boring, so let's try to find neighbor tones. All right, that sounds a little better. And by the way, even if you don't know a jazz chord, maybe you know this power chord, maybe you're a rock guy, you come from rock, want to go into jazz a bit more, then you know this power chord here from the D string. You know that they look differently from the D string. They go like this and not like this, right? So then just use this. At least you have already 3 notes to land on. I mean, in jazz, you have 1 bar usually per chord. So 3 tones is enough. Actually, these are 2 because these are the same. The rest, do the rest by ear, okay? C major 7 is the next chord, and we have a C here, and here's the full C major 7 chord. 5, 5, 5, 7. And coming from the previous G major 7, we already see visually what's the difference. Okay, so these 2 7th frets go to the 5. And now you can do exactly that when you change over. So this could be your last tone of the G, and this could be your first tone for the C. So you change the tones that are different. That way the listener already hears the change in the change in the chord change already. So that's the best way to do that. Coming from G major. All right, I played around with the other tones too. All right. You can support this channel and help keep the free video tutorials running by becoming a channel member. And you can do so by clicking the join button right next to the subscribe button and get neat perks for it too. And here are the last 4 chords. F sharp, half diminished, 4, 5, 5, 5, going to B7, 4, 4, 4, 5. And now you already see the difference. You can already tell the difference. The 5th fret goes to the 4th fret on the G and B string. Now you would want to play around like this to make that sound, that chord change audible. Or, do you hear that? You can even hear it without having underlying chords comping you. And that's when you play solo really well. When you hear the chord changes without somebody comping you, okay? Let's go over to E minor 7. You should know this chord, 7, 5, 7, 8. That's a very important chord in jazz. And actually come from B7, I would probably change from that A to that G. It looks like a far distance, but it's just a whole tone. That's that same G as this, right? So that's a good change. And then going to E7. What's the difference between E minor 7 and E7? 1 tone only. E minor 7 has that G, 5th fret, and E7, which is 7, 6, 7, 5, has that 6th here. So you should change like that. E minor, play around a bit by ear. E7. And then you resolve everything to A minor. Here's the A of the A minor chord, right? Right? So, the last thing I want you to be able to do is play, and actually that's the first thing you should do. Play through the entire progression using chords. Don't even start soloing before you can play the chords in one position, all right? So, we started out in A minor. Just use this cowboy chord or any A minor, you know. D7, G major, C major, F sharp, half diminished, B7, E minor, E7, and A minor. Now mind you, these are not the exact voicings you would use for comping a standard. Those are partly cowboy chords. This is nothing I would use to comp. But it is totally important to know these kind of cowboy chords because they give you chord tones already. That's the way I do it, right? Of course I use scales too. But I focus on chord tones all the time, and I have a chord everywhere I am on the fretboard. I see them, they kind of pop into my eyes, okay? And I want you to do the same thing. If my little video helped you, please give it a fat thumbs up so it's seen by others too. And please visit my lesson shop, GuitarVersum.com, for more lesson material. And I hope to see you next week. Servus, Baba.